Shalom, shalom, shalom. Before I get this start, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone of whom I learned from, and shalom to the whole elect brothers taking this truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect spirits of Yasharallah to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Adah. This is going to be like a rough draft. I was reading in Jeremiah, starting in Jeremiah 25, going up to like 29 or 30. There's a lot mentioned in there. Yahweh, the Most High Power, is telling Jeremiah that he's going to raise up, or he has raised up Babylon, and that he's going to lead the children of Israel into captivity under the captivity of the rulership of Babylon. And anyone who goes, they're going to live. But all those who refuse the prophecy or his judgment or his instruction, they will die. And that the captivity, so there's a lot in this, man. Of course we transgressed, we had sinned, and that's why the captivity was being brought. But there was also mercy. I believe it's in the Apocrypha, the prayer of Manasseh. Am I saying this right? Everything, I'm driving right now. This is going to be like a short draft, but I'm still going to post it. But there's a lot in the prayer of Manasseh. He says a very powerful line: "In wrath, remember mercy." So he's acknowledging both. You know, he's asking for forgiveness. He's acknowledging that he had erected abominations, which means this particular king of Israel was probably one of the only kings, one of the few kings that actually went off to the point of adultery, which is the worship of another god, and then doing the practices to worship that god, which means he was erecting altars unto those gods or that god. And he actually was brought to himself, and he acknowledges that was wrong. He says, I erected abominations. These are the reasons why we would go into captivity, guys. It would be because of stuff like that. If you read the letter of Jeremiah, the letter from Jeremiah in the Apocrypha, there's also instruction. The Most High, by the Spirit of Jeremiah, is just shredding, matter-of-factly, how idols are not gods, how belief systems are not gods, and how he makes a very key statement that they can neither raise up or bring down a king. People would read that and be like, well, you know, what does that mean? Dude, that's huge. That is a major attribute of Yahweh, the Most High, is that he is able to establish kingdoms on the earth, to raise them up, to provide for them, and then to bring them down when it's time for the next rulership to rule. And every single kingdom or beast system that rules has to rule from the left-hand side, meaning the left-handed light, the left-handed wisdom. That's how they would be instructed to carry out their kingdom. And the only kingdom that can carry out right-handed light or right-handed wisdom is Yasharallah, Israel. And this whole plan that he's been doing from the beginning, it's staggering when you're able to get a glimpse of it. So going back to Jeremiah, in Jeremiah 25, not only is he telling Jeremiah that he's gonna lead the and when I say 25, I'm talking about like from chapters 25 to 30. Again, I'm driving. I'm gonna do this lesson again more detailed, but I got to attempt to record this. Even though I'm gonna post it, I gotta attempt to record this so that I can record. You know how it says, write down the vision, make it plain, so that he that readeth may run. In the end, it shall speak and not lie. We have to record. We have to write things down. That's part of our heritage as Hebrew Israelites, that when the Most High, when Yahweh Shai, when the Spirit, when one of the angels brings you skill, sometimes you can go through a wave of emotions. You can even sometimes you guys in the beginning. See, without GMS, I would be crazy, because it helps to have other men, access to other men, who can give you counsel to let you know if you're going off or not. Because sometimes you'll get a revelation, and it can sound pretty far out there. And this is not about. We're not here to toot our own horn, man. We're not here to go off and be the Lone Ranger prophet, man. We want to follow, we'll fall under order, come under authority. And we want to learn the lyrics and the melodies of the new song. And the new song is huge. It's a major symphony. When I say the new song, I'm talking about this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth. You can innocently make a mistake, but we see it, you guys. There's guys out there that are just teaching madness, and they do not receive any type of instruction. They're proud. They deny, the elders and apostles, the great millstone, and the result is in their doctrine. I don't want to be like that. Okay. In Jeremiah chapters 25 up to 30, Yahweh is telling Jeremiah that he's going to raise up Babylon for everyone. We're going to go into captivity for 7 years. There is also a major mentioning of all the nations that the Most High is going to judge too, and he names them all by name. Edom, Moab, they're all named by name. And he says something, I'm paraphrasing again, if I'm going to judge the house or the place where I have placed my name, how do you think I'm not going to judge you? And it goes along with that same precept. Those who are not supposed to drink the cup have surely drinking the cup. No, those who are not supposed to drink, those whose portion was not to drink the cup have drank the cup. And how shall thou not be punished? You shall surely drink the cup. So everything that the Most High has done to the Hebrew Israelites, both northern and southern kingdom, were direct responses to judgment. Under the sun is the place of judgment. He gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to the Hebrew Israelites. He's never done this to any other nation. This is Psalms 129, I believe. I just butchered it. And he has not dealt so with any other nation. So he's got to judge us first because he's given us his statutes and commandments first. Okay, and he hasn't given them to anybody else. So you see it twice. So you see him mentioning that he's going to destroy all the other nations, but he's also going to raise them up. He also says in Jeremiah, I raise up kings, and I set over the earth whom I will, and bring down whom I will. So this going back and forth with all this stuff with Jeremiah, with the Israelites, him telling the Israelites that this place is going to be judged, them taking offense to it, and then some people listening. You see the 2/3 right there, and then you see the remnant or the elect listening. He also says, the Most High also says somewhere in there that all the other nations who don't put their yoke, their necks under the yoke of King of Babylon, will also be destroyed. So and then he calls the King of Babylon his servant. Pretty intense words, right? But it all means something. So now, jump forward into the prophet Daniel. So the prophet Daniel was younger. He was either super young, hadn't been born yet. He was super young and was being born, while Jeremiah was a grown man doing all this stuff. And Baruch was his side guy. Was the other prophet that was serving him and helping him out. The captivity comes. We get to Daniel, the prophet Daniel. I believe Jeremiah is still old. You guys can correct me if he's still alive, but he's old. Or he died. But now Daniel is becoming a man, and he's actively involved in Babylon in the form of captivity, like the order was given that the captivity would be long. So right away, Yahweh shares a dream with King Nebuchadnezzar, bro. Now remember what was said in Daniel's time. I set above it any king whom I will, and I take them down, okay? Yahweh sends light, sends instruction, sends wisdom to King Nebuchadnezzar while he is deep on his bed in sleep, like it says in the book of Job. And when he wakes up, Yahweh removes the light from him and puts it back in his vault, so that King Nebuchadnezzar cannot remember it. But he does remember that he was shown something very intense, and he wanted the interpretation. He needed the understanding of it. So he makes a decree into all the wise men. Hey, you guys that have come and interpret this dream. If you don't do it, I'm fitting to kill all you. And the men that he was saying this to are the real deal. The Chaldeans are who America is likened unto today, the daughter of the Chaldeans, Excellency, and they're basically men on the left-hand side that operate in real, quote-unquote, witchcrafts. They're able to peep into the spirit realm on the left-hand side and get light from that side, because that's the only place you can get it when you're one of those kind of people. So they come and tell the king. No one can do that. No one has been able to tell someone what they've dreamed. It's been taken from you. The only person who can do that are the gods. So their answer is correct, but King Nebuchadnezzar is like, well, what purpose do you serve in my kingdom if you can't tap into the vaults of the spirit realm and pull out what was shown to me? I'm going to kill you all. Daniel, as a youth, finds this out. So he prays. Remember, he was young when Jeremiah was older. When Jeremiah was giving the decree that we're going to go into Babylon for punishments. Those of you who do go will live. Those of you who refuse will die. So he faces the east and he prays to Yahweh for the interpretation or for the treasure of light that was shown temporarily to King Nebuchadnezzar. And the Most High instantly gives Daniel the download or the understanding of what he showed King Nebuchadnezzar. The prophet Daniel does an amazing thing. I used to always kind of get upset when I would read this line because I didn't understand. He super gives glory to Yahweh. He doesn't take any credit for himself. And I used to always think, well, you're an Israelite, you're a Hebrew, you prayed. Yeah, you did something. No, listen, Daniel, and I'm paraphrasing you guys. I got to do a more extensive lesson on this with the actual precepts, but I'm driving. I want to get it at least on record somehow. Daniel goes to King Nebuchadnezzar and says, don't kill any of the wise men. The Most High has given me the interpretation of your dream. And what the Most High, Yahweh, shared with King Nebuchadnezzar was plans from the architect himself of what he was going to do in the earth by something that America's government, Esau, would call classified. Or, you know what I mean? It's pertinent information, top secret information, because it deals with mountains. It deals with the summit of mountains. What does that mean? The top rulerships of how 4 specific beast systems would be established in the earth by the power of the Most High, not man, even though it would include man, and it would go in a specific order, and they would do specific things. All of this detail displays the absolute sovereignty of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai and his right and left hands. What do I mean by that? The angels, the Allahayim on the right hand side, and the angels, or the Allahayim, on the left hand side. The men, the mighty ones that we see flying in UFOs today, those are called chariots. Those are called wheels of fire. Those are clouds. And because we're in the last 4th beast system, who was prophesied to deceive the whole world and work deceitfully, whose right hand is a work of deceit, everyone on planet Earth is operating in gross darkness, which then cannot or will not give glory to Yahweh because of things like science and evolution, right? Nobody acknowledges the Most High. If you go back to Daniel, even the magicians, even the wizards, even the left-handed wise men, when bringing up Daniel, different times in that book was at different times in his life, even they addressed him as having the spirit of the gods inside of him. You won't hear anybody in Hollywood, anybody in hip hop, the real deal, like witchcraft people, you won't hear them give glory to Yahweh Shai. You won't hear them acknowledge GMS. Because in this time, in this dispensation that we're living in, there's a level of darkness that in this beast system, they would take ultimate pride and fulfill the prophecy in Isaiah 14. I will be like the Most High. That is talking about Esau, Edom, Amalek, the so-called white man. That's not talking about the spiritual demon power, Satan, who sits at the left-hand side of the house. It's not talking about him. That's a result of gross darkness. So when you get to Daniel and he's explaining to King Nebuchadnezzar the detail of his dream, I believe he falls down and like bows down, like, wow, the Most High does speak to you. So he shows them the dream. So basically Yahweh shared with him his sovereign plans. He shared with the high ruling king that he just told the secret to the Israelites. I'm going to lift up Babylon right now, and King Nebuchadnezzar is my servant. He didn't speak this to anybody else, and he didn't speak this to the Israelites saying that now I'm going to have a relationship with the heathen King Nebuchadnezzar. No, in that time, he was serving a purpose for Yahweh's display of sovereignty at the same time while he was chastising and punishing his sons, the Israelites, in captivity to them. Does that make sense? So this goes by. So some more time goes by. Then King Nebuchadnezzar, remember, he erects the golden statue, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would not bow down. They get thrown in the fire. Yahweh Shai comes to the fire. King Nebuchadnezzar sees it and says, wow, no one shall step to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which means Daniel's God. So these two major events took place in Babylon, that the Most High said he was going to exalt Babylon over all the other nations, that King Nebuchadnezzar was his servant, right? And that the Most High told the Israelites, he didn't tell anybody else, he told the Israelites, I set over the earth who I will and who I will not. I bring one down, I bring him out. It's huge when you read the letter of Jeremiah in the book of the Apocrypha, because that's what it keeps, that one letter keeps saying that over and over again. They are not gods. They are not gods. They are not gods. They cannot set up kings and bring them down. They are not gods. They are not gods. They cannot redress. I looked at that word redress. It means to correct or cover a situation. Well, what do you think of when you go into the Genesis story, when Adam and Eve sinned, and Yahweh through the prophets, the voice of God on the earth in the Garden of Eden, made coats of skin, redressed, covered over the nakedness of Adam and Eve. They can't even. There's no redemption on the left-hand side. There's no redemption. It just, ooh, man, bro. So the letter of Jeremiah points to this. Daniel opens it up even more. So now, another dream is given, because Yahweh is sovereign. He's going to display what he's going to display, and this man he calls his servant, who is not a Hebrew Israelite. So he gets another dream of a tree with grows up high to heaven. Men are likened unto trees. All the birds and all the beasts that fill are under the shade. Those are all your nations. But the tree is cut down by the watchers, and 7 times is given over it, so they can grow back again. He explains the dream to Daniel. Daniel instantly understands it. Oh man, Daniel tells King Nebuchadnezzar, you got to repent and you got to humble yourself. That's all he says, man. By this time in his life, Daniel has earned the right to give it that level of advice to King Nebuchadnezzar. King Nebuchadnezzar has learned by experience that Daniel's the real deal, more so than all the wise men who are real magicians, who are real wizards, the Chaldeans in his kingdom, that he has given the name of Belteshazzar, I believe. I don't know how to say it in Hebrew, to King Daniel, which is, he's the king of the magicians. He's the chief. So if these guys were musicians, Daniel would be the chief lyricist, the chief artist. He would be able to play. He would be like Prince. He would be like Prince amongst a whole bunch of other rock stars who are also good. But everybody knows that Prince just transcended so many people for so many different reasons. That's probably a horrible example. But King Nebuchadnezzar understood this about Daniel. So King Nebuchadnezzar, knowing that he got the interpretation from the first dream, knowing that he saw the Son of God standing in the fire with the 3 Hebrew lads, right, who are also connected to Daniel. Knowing that when King Nebuchadnezzar instantly went to Daniel to tell him his dream. He didn't go to any of the guys in his kingdom. When Daniel said, you got to humble yourself and you got to repent, what does King Nebuchadnezzar do, you guys? And I think this is where I end the story. He brags about how he has made this kingdom for his glory and by his brilliance. And he's just oh man, I'm so awesome. Look what I've done. Look what I've accomplished. And he hasn't acknowledged Yahweh, who actually rose him up, established him, even spoke to him through an interpreter when he hasn't even done that with so many other kings. And here this dude is taking all the credit and glory for something that Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua has done, and his right and left hand, the Alahayim, right? This has been a work before Babylon was even a kingdom. The Most High was talking about him to Jeremiah on intimate levels about what he was going to do, right? And then also explaining that once he's done punishing us, he's going to punish all these kingdoms, because it's in Israel where Yahweh keeps his name. Yahweh didn't put his name in Babylon. He put his name in Israel, Yasharallah, right? So if Yahweh is going to punish the Hebrew Israelites, he's for sure going to punish the other nations. That is fair, that is balanced. How in the heck is the Father only going to judge his sons because he holds them to a standard, and never judge the other kids or children that aren't his and that live in the same area called the earth? No, it doesn't work like that. So all this being said, here you have Nebuchadnezzar, after all of that, man, after all that time, after all that very high classified personal information that was shared and spoken to him, he takes all the credit for building Babylon. And instantly, one of the watchers speak from their chariot. You can't see it, but their voice is made audible, and they say, "The kingdom is going to be taken from you. You're going to be take the heart of a man out of him, give them the heart of a beast. Let 7 times pass over him until he acknowledges that he will eat grass like the beasts of the field, and let feathers grow on his body," or something like that. And 7 times, meaning 7 years, will pass until he acknowledges the Most High. Instantly, his intelligence, his wisdom is taken away from him. He loses all of his light. He can't even remember who he is, and he's running around in the fucking forest, eating grass, and acting like an absolute donkey. And dude, no king in 7 years on the earth attempted to even take his throne. Why? Because it's twofold meaning. The Most High sets over the earth whom he will, even the basis of men, and he takes down whom he will, and even sometimes a king, he'll take that king down and not even replace him with another king. He'll just chastise that king in public, in front of everybody, hold his throne, and when he's done whooping his ass, set him back on the throne again. Because that's exactly what happened with King Nebuchadnezzar. That's what we see. We see a dude who's brilliant. It takes a while to learn, though. He doesn't acknowledge the Most High because he's a heathen. It's not in his DNA. And he is a servant, meaning his service, his whole use was so that the story could be written. He gets his judgment for 7 years, completely loses all his mind functions. And then he gets it all back at the end of 7 years, just like he's going to give all the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of our heritage back. That's why GMS can say they have 100% truth. Because people are like, nobody has 100% truth. And who can remember when everything's been rewritten, covered over by Esau, painted over, changed to white? Those are valid statements, but we walk by faith, right? Not by sight. And we got to read and run. Once we read the prophecies and we are given wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on how to correctly read the scriptures, we can then walk, run, and fly. Like it also says, and that's what the Spirit's doing with us. So we see all this with King Nebuchadnezzar. He was the first beast mentioned. Now jump to 2nd Esdras chapter 11, when Yahushua comes back in his chariot, and he speaks to the eagle and says, "Art thou not that 4th beast which I have caused to reign in my world?" Stop right there, bro. That line that Yahushua himself is speaking when he comes back, not as a man, there's levels to it. Just like when he opens his mouth against the army in Yehoshaphat, and it says there were sparks, flames, tempest, and something else coming out of his mouth. That's not overkill. That's real, bro. That's visual. That's physical. But that's also what's the word I want to use? You know, it says to know the breadth, the height, the depth, the width. It's like a cube. How high, how deep, how wide, the breadth, the width. How wide, how breadth, the width. How wide, how deep, how high is the love. Well, it's also the same for the word. There's levels of revelation and understanding to the scriptures. One line can connect to another line, and have not multiple different meanings that are contrary, multiple different facets that are the same, just more deeper. That's what's happening. Art not thou that 4th beast who I have caused to rule in my world, and thou hast ruled with deceit? And then the list of all the crimes, the list of all the transgressions, the list of all the things that require judgment are declared from the mouth of Yahushua to the eagle, which is Esau, Edom, Amalek, the so-called white man. All the previous rulerships that were wicked, that the Most High have caused to rule in this world, they all displayed left-handed wisdom, right? Stuff that we're not supposed to deal with. We were all captives in those kingdoms. And we always say, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua is going to judge them for what they did to us. And very much rightly so. Yes, That's one of those levels of understanding. I want to display this lesson or this aspect of the scriptures, the pride. The Most High, look, there's been multiple kingdoms in the earth, not just 4. These 4, I believe, were the biggest, or these 4, the Most High chose to reveal himself in the involvement of their, what's the word? How they came about, their establishment, and when they stopped. And he said, I'm the reason. So, and I'm going to suggest this. I'm not an expert in history. I know Egypt was a rulership. It's safe to say with what he said about the 4 beast systems in Daniel, he did the same thing with Egypt. He raised up Babylon or Pharaoh. For this cause have I raised up Pharaoh, to display my power, right? It's the same with every other kingdom, you guys. It's in the book of Daniel where it's a lot of personal information is divulged, where he says, look, this one, and this one. And he shows you their descriptions by what type of animal or how they would mix, how they would have different animal attributes, and it explains those rulerships to a T once a Hebrew Israelite prophet is granted the light to interpret what's really been said. Because Esau, the so-called white man, Renaissance Western Christianity, have had the Bible in their hands for a couple hundred years, 300-400 years, and they have completely failed at explaining scripture. Revelation, the book, the prophet John, the Revelation is not even correctly taught, and we can prove it because just off of chapter 12, where it talks about the war in heaven, everybody thinks the fable of the left-handed spirit Satan falls as Lucifer. Before he falls, Lucifer tries to fight the Most High and take over heaven because he wants to worship for himself. I can't tell you how long I believed that fucking bullshit lie because I had no understanding. The war of heaven hasn't even happened yet. There are 3 different types of heaven. One is the sky. The third, or the highest one, is the rulership of Yahweh on his throne in the chariot, and that's in the spirit realm somewhere. Okay? And the first one is rulership on the earth. And whichever king, whichever system that Yahweh has placed on that throne in the earth, they have the position of heaven on the earth. So when it says the war of heaven, or my sword shall be bathed in heaven, that heaven is what is being spoken about. The rulership on the earth. And right now, the 4th beast, according to Daniel, has that position via the banking families who are Amalek and on down. It's like a pyramid, and those are the biblical Edomites, the so-called white man. That's who's in rulership on the earth according to prophecy. There's no getting around it. And if the Most High, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, chastised and took away the light of King Nebuchadnezzar for bragging, boasting over his kingdom when he knew Yahweh's hand was involved, and he didn't give credit for his chief executive, for his chief architectural designer, architectural developer, the planner. He did not acknowledge the one who made his house. He sent the watchers, the Alahayim, and they struck him and took away his light, and it took away his mindset. And he was walking around the earth for 7 years eating fucking grass, bro. And the Most High was merciful to him. He remembered mercy in his wrath. And this is not even a Hebrew Israelite. This was for our learning. What do you think he's going to do to Esau, the 7-headed dragon, the Satan that was released from his prison, which was coming out of Europe during the Renaissance to deceive the whole world? Because now the whole world does not give glory to Yahweh. The whole world does not acknowledge Yahweh Shai. The whole world does not acknowledge the Alahayim, the right and left hand. We're calling them UFOs. We're calling them aliens. We're making bugged out pictures of big round eggheads with deformed eyes and little slit mouths and twig bodies, and saying these are the guys who operate the chariots. We're not even calling them chariots, we're calling them UFOs. There is so much darkness in the earth. And as a result of that darkness, everyone, including myself, we're all walking around in pride. Absolute pride. And we will not acknowledge Yahweh. We won't call him out by his name. If you go to Babylon, if you go to Nebuchadnezzar's time when Daniel was there, at least when Daniel was mentioned, remember when King Nebuchadnezzar's son was having that party at the banquet and the hand appeared and the Most High was going to do to Nebuchadnezzar's son the same way he did to Nebuchadnezzar? He put that writing on the wall, it's over for your kingdom. And there was a girl at the table and she said, hey man, go call for the prophet Daniel who served her father. The spirit of the living, the Most High is in him. They ignite at the banquet, and it doesn't get more ceremonially satanic. It doesn't get any more ceremonially left-handed than that banquet that they were partying at. That was one of their moments, and a girl at the party mentions the Hebrew Israelite prophet and acknowledges his power at the table, dude. You don't even see that happening anywhere in America. You don't see that happening anywhere in the world because of what Esau has done with the narrative of lying, covering the faces of the judges, changing the names of Yahweh, Yahweh, literally creating doctrines and spreading them over the earth. Evolution. What is that? It's a so-called white man, Darwin, a devil, spread the lie of evolution. What does that do? So evolution is a direct attack. Didn't King Nebuchadnezzar get judged for not acknowledging the architectural plans, the sovereign, brilliant wisdom of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai with his hands, the Allahayim building these kingdoms, establishing, raising up kings and bringing them down? That's acknowledgement of what? Of intellectual properties. Everything that's happening was a direct result. What does the scripture say? Wisdom flows by reason of her purity. She flows through all things. By reason of wisdom's purity, she flows through everything. She's involved. Everything takes wisdom for it to function, man. What has Esau done, even with the doctrine of a devil of evolution? They say something, an explosion happened, you guys, that created all this insanely intelligent, wise, high wisdom, these wisdom systems, these manifold wisdom systems that require the purity of wisdom to flow through it. And they're trying to say that Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai did not do this, that some random explosion did all this. And then at the same time, that same race of people is running around the earth as a terror, claiming that he's the reason and sole purpose for everything on planet Earth. It's all because of him. And soon, everyone on this planet will worship me. What does the letter of Jeremiah say? As we are going into captivity, like we are in captivity now, they are not gods. They are not gods. They are no gods, and they cannot set up a king nor bring one down. That alone is reserved for Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. They're not in control, man. Yet they have transgressed way more than King Nebuchadnezzar. They have taken. You don't think they don't know? You don't think they haven't known? They have known the secrets of our book this whole time, and then they spread Renaissance Western Christianity over the earth, and then they establish all these systems of cycles of play, football, baseball, basketball, every 4 years, the Olympic Games, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these ceremonies and these celebrations and these distractions. Bread and circus is constantly cyclical every fucking year. Wow, what were they doing? What were the elite? What was the summit of the Mount of Esau? The top rulers, what were they doing though? They've been preparing underground bunkers and hidden technologies to do what? To fight Yahushai when he comes back on a chariot. What the wicked call a UFO. To exact Yahweh Shabbat, to bring about the judgment of Yahweh, mentioned many places in the Bible, but right here in Jeremiah 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. He's going to judge the kingdoms for what they've done. He has to judge them because he's judged the place where he has set his name. And those whose lot was not to drink the cup have drank the cup. And shalt thou go unpunished? Thou shalt surely drink. Esau is going to drink the cup, you guys. The so-called white man, Amalek, the small hats are going to drink the cup. They've done more worse. And like it says in 2nd Ezra, art thou not that fourth beast who I have caused to rule in my world? Aren't you him? Aren't you they? Because they say they're not them, but they are them. And see, Yahushua is the one that's going to come back, honoring his father and imposing the plans that were written the whole time, the architectural plans of the earth, the architectural plans of all these kingdoms. It has all come out of the mind. It has all come out of the brilliance of the fountain of living waters, man. It's all come and flowed out of him. All of it, man. And under the place of the, and the place under the sun is the place of judgment. And he displays his righteous balance, his mercy, and his wrath, man. And we get to behold it, you guys. So I pray that this lesson was edifying. It basically was a rough draft. I didn't, I was debating on whether I should record this while I was driving. But I was like, if you don't record it, you're gonna lose it like you've done before in the past. And then your emotions are gonna change. And you're gonna be, oh, I'll just get another lesson. No, man. Write the vision down and make it plain. So they who read shall run. In the end, it will speak and not lie. There's so much coming out of the scriptures, man. I thank Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai for the prophets, for the men of GMS. I'm not an official member of GMS. They're all I listen to. And if I have a problem, they're going to be the ones who correct me, and I'm going to ask them for advice. I'm going to ask them for instruction because they'll give it. I understand that I can hear the scriptures. Well, prophecy has said we were going to wake up, but I also understand that I can hear what I can hear because of my proximity to GMS, the Great Millstone. And I'm thankful about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai said, I will give you pastors who will feed you with knowledge and understanding. And that's who GMS is, man. Because Christianity, I was born and raised in a Christian home. I went to church my whole life. I even got to a point in life when I finally returned to church, to the one that they called Jesus. I was happy about going to church, man. I was every Sunday reading the Bible. I have never learned the scriptures the way I'm learning them now. And I'm not learning the scriptures from any Renaissance Western 501c3 Christian. I'm not learning the scriptures from any Christian. I'm not. I'm learning the scriptures from GMS, and I'm learning the scriptures from when I read by the Spirit. So I pray this lesson was edifying. We got to be humble, man. We got to learn humility. We got to learn meekness. We got to acknowledge the source. We got to give credit. We have to give credit, you guys. You know, people always say, oh, yeah, glory to God. No, man. Really, on a personal, good Lord, man. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai was sharing the secret that he had raised up Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar, and that he was going to make it where everybody was going to have to bow down to him for a season on the earth. He shared that with the Israelites, and he said, those of you who listen and go and just take yourself over there to be their captives, you're going to live. Or when he comes, if you go with him, you're going to live. But if you try to fight it or you try to resist, you're going to die. He was saying that about King Nebuchadnezzar. Then, when King Nebuchadnezzar gets to a place in his kingdom, he brags that it's only him doing it, when he had 3 previous, very powerful, very, very intricate visitations and revelations of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai that had to be interpreted by the prophet Daniel, the beloved prophet Daniel. And he was able to interpret those dreams, and King Nebuchadnezzar still showed pride, like, hey, look what I've done. When you've seen firsthand that someone has completely set this up for you, and that wasn't even in his mind to think so, and so he got a harsh judgment for it. Look how many times more fold. How many times? Thousands of times more what Esau has done. Esau has never, ever given glory to Yahweh. Every time you watch a nature show, every time you watch something brilliant, or the telescopes have shown you pictures of the space, of the brilliant universe, these fuckers always mention fucking evolution. It's on repeat. There's always some Edomite man narrating the beautiful work of the documentary. Excellent work, and then it's laced with evolution. It's like, what the fuck? They've done a millionfold worse than what King Nebuchadnezzar did. Because later King Nebuchadnezzar says, "I now extol the Most High." Esau's not going to get that chance. Esau's not going to get that chance. It's not about Esau. In fact, Esau can't repent. I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Rakadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, of whom I learned from, and the Shalom to the hopefully elect brothers taking this truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect spirits of Yahshua to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Radah.